Welcome to Four Quarter Lives, a podcast exploring the profound impact of longer lives and careers on everything: countries, companies, couples, and careers. I'm Aviva Wittenberg-Cox, and today's episode is something new. As we move into 2026, I'm launching a series of focused mini-series, 3 or 4 episodes clustered around one big theme. And this is our first summary episode. Over the past few weeks, I've spoken with 3 people. Anu Madgavkar from McKinsey on the hard economics of demographic decline and AI, Dan Pontefract on what he calls age debt inside organizations, and Rick Robinson from AARP's innovation on the commercial scale of the longevity economy. Individually, each conversation stands alone, but together they tell a much bigger story. We're living through a structural convergence. Shrinking workforces, accelerating automation, and a rapidly aging consumer base. These aren't separate trends. They're interlocking forces, reshaping how we design work, build companies, and define growth. So in today's episode, I'm stepping back from the individual interviews to connect a few dots. What happens when demographic scarcity meets AI? What are organizations quietly losing when they mishandle experience? And why is the so-called longevity economy less a niche and more the new baseline? If you're leading a company, designing strategy, or simply trying to make sense of what the next 20 years look like, this one is for you. Let's zoom out. These 3 recent conversations converge on a reality that most executive teams I meet still underweight. We're not entering a demographic shift. We're already operating inside one. And AI has arrived at precisely the same moment. Aging is still too often treated and written about as a soft HR issue. AI is still too often treated as a technical IT issue. But both framings are now strategically obsolete. Demographic contraction and technological acceleration are twin forces, reshaping labor supply, productivity, and market demand simultaneously. This isn't incremental change, it's structural redesign. Here are 3 key lessons you can pull from these 3 key experts. 1, scarcity meets automation. 2/3 of the global population now lives in countries with fertility rates below replacement. In advanced economies, the ratio of working age adults, I know, I struggle with this outdated segmentation of age too. But anyways, the ratio of working age adults to over 65 is heading from roughly 4-to-1 to 2-to-1 by mid-century. That's not an aging story, it's a growth constraint. Shrinking labor supply isn't a temporary market distortion, it's the new operating environment. The post-war demographic dividend has flipped into a headwind, and it won't reverse on any 5-year strategic timeline. At the same time, AI is expanding productive capacity. A significant share of today's work can technically be automated. A growing proportion of work hours will be repurposed. Take a look at those 2 essential McKinsey reports we discuss with Anu. The word that matters is not replacement, it's redesign. Demographic contraction reduces available human labor. AI increases task efficiency. Automation becomes the economic buffer against depopulation. But only if leaders redesign work to match. Waiting for talent markets to normalize is waiting for a world that no longer exists. In aging societies, AI is not a discretionary innovation program. It's a competitiveness necessity. 2, the hidden liability, age debt. Inside organizations, a quieter cost is accumulating. Dan Pontefract calls it age debt, the liability companies build when they mishandle later careers, push out experienced professionals too early, and assume succession is a neat baton pass rather than a fragile knowledge transfer. Age debt shows up as institutional memory walking out the door, overstretched middle managers carrying unrecorded expertise, expensive hiring cycles to replace tacit knowledge, and subtle cultural signals that aging equals irrelevance. The career architecture most firms still operate on was built for 40-year lives and retirement at 65. But we're now building 60-year careers inside systems that were never redesigned for them. The cost isn't sentimental, it's operational. Now add AI. As AI systems scale, the need for human judgment increases. Algorithms generate output, humans remain accountable. Context, pattern recognition, risk intuition, ethical calibration, these don't sit neatly inside code. And here's the paradox most excos haven't fully absorbed. The more AI you introduce, the more you need experienced judgment. Automation raises the premium on wisdom. Push out seasoned professionals prematurely, and you're not rejuvenating the workforce. You're eroding the human governance layer that makes AI safe, valuable, and, yes, trusted. Retain and redesign later careers, and you convert age debt into an experience dividend, a compounding asset of judgment, mentorship, decision quality, and system stability. Experience isn't a cost center. It's the new strategic hedge. 3, innovation beyond theater. Externally, the blindness is just as pronounced. The so-called longevity economy is still widely misunderstood as a niche healthcare segment. It's not. It's the mainstream consumer market of extended lives. Older consumers hold a disproportionate share of wealth and will do so for decades. Yet marketing, product design, and brand narratives remain youth-coded. It's not just a cultural bias, it's a commercial oversight. Rick Robertson's work at AARP highlights a growing ecosystem of startups building for longer lives, not as charity, but as opportunity. The focus is autonomy, connection, caregiving, financial resilience, mobility, housing, participation, everyday life extended. The critical insight? Older consumers aren't tech resistant. They're dignity sensitive. They adopt technology when it offers control, usefulness, safety, and respect. They disengage when it patronizes or excludes. Design for longer lives, and you unlock durable revenue streams. Continue designing for a shrinking youth segment, and you compress your future. The longevity opportunity isn't a side market, it's the new baseline. So what's the leadership shift required to these 3 trends? First, seeing that demographics and AI aren't parallel trends, they're interdependent. Internally, this means redesigning careers as phased transitions rather than cliff-edge exits. It means valuing transferable skills, communication, judgment, systems thinking, alongside digital fluency. And it means investing in reskilling across the life course, not front-loading it in early adulthood. Externally, it means recognizing aging populations not as burdens, but as engines of demand and innovation. Product development, marketing, and customer experience are going to have to reflect the reality of longer multi-stage lives. This isn't about managing aging. It's about designing for extended vitality. Leaders who succeed in the next decade will pair judgment, experience, and empathy with technological partners. They'll see longevity not as a risk to mitigate, but as the context in which all strategy now operates. The demographic shift isn't coming, it's here, and AI will not save you without experience. Experience won't compound unless you redesign the system that contains it. And remember, the organizations that thrive in 2040 are being designed today. Is yours? For more thinking about the impact of our 4-quarter lives, you can read my column at Forbes and subscribe to my Elderberries newsletter on Substack. Let's design lives that aren't just longer, but better.